doesn't matter how much healing you do, something's always going to crop up and make you feel like shit sometimes. Now, I've got a few tips on how to actually handle this. This happened to me yesterday. I had something happen in the morning that just made me feel crap, and that's just life. You can't get away from that. The trick is how to move through it without making it mean anything. Now, I talk a lot on this page about how I've healed from all my chronic illnesses. You can go and see the pin post for a list of them. But obviously, I still have autism and ADHD. That's not going anywhere. My goal and what I successfully do is living well with ADHD and autism. And that's where all these tips and tricks come in, because that's not something that's going away. Now, it can either ride roughshod over your life, or you take control of it and you learn how to handle it. And my goal on this page is always to be real and authentic, and that means telling you about the shit stuff that happens as well. I don't want to sell anybody the dream that once you've healed your chronic illnesses, life is just fucking peachy. My life is brilliant. Like 9 times out of 10, I wake up feeling good or great, one of the two, and sometimes I feel absolutely fantastic, like I have done for the last week until yesterday. You're in control of that to a degree, and then life's like, here's a curveball. When that happens, we make adjustments for ourselves, or if you're in the neurodiverse space, you'll know it as making accommodations for yourself. For me, what that looks like is my routine gets simplified. So yesterday I went for a big stompy walk, and I put off working until later because I had to get that anger and the shame that came with it out of my system. Because if you let it sit, that turns into inflammation and chronic illness. It gets stored in your fascia as a threat because you haven't dealt with it. So things have to be dealt with in the immediate space. That is a priority for me. That is my number one priority, because that is one of the key reasons of healing from chronic illness. So I allowed myself this 1 hour of ranting, of getting it off my chest, yelling, feeling all the feelings basically. And we talk a lot about that, we hear a lot about that, but what does that actually look like? So for me, what I normally do is I will go for a walk, and I will take the dog with me because I have a dog. Dog is optional. Although it's very helpful to co-regulate with the dog because they're just in the moment, they're very joyful, and that brings you back to a place of peace. But before you get to the place of peace, you have to actually be real and be authentic and feel what you're feeling. This is not toxic positivity. That's not what I do here. I have had a few comments lately along the lines of, so you just gaslight yourself into believing you don't have fibromyalgia anymore. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could do that, because the doctors would have done it for us? No, that's not what happens. So what I did yesterday, and what I generally do, is to take myself off for a long walk. For me, that looks like an hour of very physical walking. Usually I'm like a stroll and look at the flowers kind of girl. This one was a stomp. We were uphill, we were downdale, we were sweating, we were panting. It was ugly, it was work. We had to do it. It had to be done. I say we because I brought my missus with me, another co-regulating factor. And we allowed ourselves to just feel shit about something for an hour before we were like, right, you know what? This is not going to train wreck the rest of our week. We can handle this. She also recovers from chronic illness as well. She's in process of that. She's amazing. And then I got to work on solving the problem when I got home, because you can only solve a problem from a place of being a bit more regulated. If you go into something from this place of being dysregulated, nothing good can come from that. Anything that you start from that place will not bear fruit, because you're feeling shit, and energy is everything. So we dealt with the problem. We made a few phone calls. We did some emails. Like, what the problem was dealt with. It was boxed off, ticked away. And then we deal with the fallout. The fallout that is your old self trying to pull you back, saying, hey, that means you're a bad person. That means you're shit. That means you've made bad decisions. That old self will always lie to you. And maybe you're still in that old self now. If you're watching this from a place of, you're bedbound, you're in chronic illness flare, you're really feeling shit about yourself. I get it, I used to be there as well. I am not speaking from a place of perfect health privilege. Like, I'm still in process. I'm building my capacity to still. Capacity is your window of tolerance, sweet spot in the middle. You've got hyperarousal, where you're very dysregulated. You've got dysregulation. You've got window of tolerance, which is where I'm at today. You've got dysregulation, shut down, and then you've got hypo with an O, not an ER, arousal, where you're frozen, you can't feel anything. The goal is to move through these quickly, smoothly, without making it mean anything. The goal is not to sit in window of tolerance all the time. It's not possible. The goal is to be able to feel what life is doing and to come back to this homeostasis, to this regulated place quickly, with minimum stress, with minimum making this about you. I call it not making a story. When I speak to my patients about this, I will always say, we don't make this a story. This happened because healing is not linear. We don't make a story out of it. We don't make a mountain out of a molehill out of it, while still being authentic and feeling the feelings. It's a sweet spot. Because I was still dealing with this last night, I woke up with some physical sensations in my body that were not pleasant. I had a headache, I felt nauseous, and this is a hangover. I think it's also a hangover from the full moon. Did anybody else feel that? But it was specifically a hangover from this event that happened yesterday, Monday. So I normally do a very vigorous vinyasa flow with a tutor that really understands me and stretches me a lot. I'm hypermobile, I need a good stretch. I'm also building strength in yoga because the goal with hypermobility is not to get more bendy, obviously, it's to build strength. So I have this like locked into my diary. This is what I do at 9:30 on a Tuesday. But I wasn't feeling it this morning, or rather, I knew that I could do it, but I didn't think that that would be a kind choice for myself this morning. So what I did was I messaged her and I said, could I come to your later class that I have been to maybe once, because it's too slow for me. It's not the pace that I'm at with my yoga. I've done yoga since I was 13, so I need a challenge. So I just messaged and said, can I come to this class? She was like, yeah, no problem. She's a sweetheart. And she was like, can you bring me some herbs as well? So that was cool. This class was below my level of ability generally, but was what would be kind to myself today. And if you don't do yoga, that's fine. I'm sure there's something in your life that you can relate this to. So maybe you do a lot of walking. Can you pick the less hilly route today? Which is what I did this morning because I wasn't feeling great. My dog has to go out regardless. She don't give a shit. So we chose a non-hilly route. We chose a flat route. We did half an hour and I did my slow, mindful looking at the trees, checked in with my bestie on the phone for a little bit. And we make accommodations. That's what it boils down to, is making accommodations. And I've had a slower start. It's about 12 o'clock midday when I'm recording this. I normally start work about, 11. That's not happened. I've delayed things. It's about meeting yourself where you are with kindness. And it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So it's not what you're doing, the yoga, the work, the stomping up and down. It's the way you're doing it and the story you're telling yourself as you're doing it. It's how you are making yourself feel, because yes, we are in control of that. The outside circumstance is the outside circumstance. It's neutral. Someone else could have reacted to that circumstance yesterday with a completely neutral event. That's not the case for me. There's a lot of shame wrapped up in the event that happened yesterday. So you have to discharge that, because if shame lives in your body and you hold that charge, you become the thing that is shameful. If you let it be that, it doesn't have to be that. That's your choice. And this is something I work really closely with my patients. And obviously I practice what I preach as well. This is something that interests you. You can go and take my free nervous system quiz that will give you an idea of where you might be at right now, where we might start with treatment together. And it'll give you a little bit of insight. And I've got a whole load of courses coming out this month about the individual label that it gives you. Basically, it tells you sort of what is going on for you, where we would start, and then I'm building out courses around that to help you guys. So you can take that. The link is in my bio. And I'm going to go and carry on with my work. I feel regulated, I feel calm, I've done all my safe things, and I'm safe in the knowledge that I'm not going back to chronic migraine, fibromyalgia, POTS, chronic pain, any of the other stuff I used to deal with, because I've dealt with it in the moment. And that's the thing, you get to deal with it in the moment, or you get to deal with it over a couple of years when your body's collapsed because it's held too much for too long. And that's what chronic illness is. It's for people who have huge hearts, huge caring abilities, huge caring responsibilities normally, and they've given too much for too long, and their body said, we can't do this anymore, sorry. And that was me, and now I don't feel like that. There is a specific method and a way to go about this, and that is what I specialise in. That's who I treat. So you can follow the link in my bio to learn all about that, and I hope this has helped in some way.